welcome back. This is part one of the auxiliary videos for the series of how to make a home budget in Microsoft Excel. It's been about a year since we last saw each other, and I really appreciate everybody who's left feedback. I appreciate the questions that have been asked and for the input and advice and suggestions from my viewers. I really didn't expect as many people to appreciate this series as did. So again, thank you for being part of this experience. So what this auxiliary series is going to be is it's going to be a list of updates, changes that I've made to my own personal budget system, answers to questions that I've had from you, the viewers, and improvements based on my own experience and the comments and suggestions from you guys. So what I'm going to do is if you look on your screen now, you'll see several different links from annotations that will link you to the different changes that we're going to make. Those are going to stay on screen throughout the video, so that if you determine that this change that we're making is not for you, then you can click the link and go on to the next one. So we will be making a series of changes today. So the first change that we're going to make is probably the largest, and it's going to be the most in-depth, but it's also going to be the most helpful, and that is changing the debt tracking system. For whatever reason, in my last series I didn't even think about including the interest rate in the debt tracking system. That was a complete oversight on my part. Several of you, the viewers, commented on it. I apologize, and now I'm going to show you what I found was the easiest and most efficient way of tracking debt. So let's just jump right on in. If you look back at the old debt tracker, you'll notice some numbers in here that aren't what you have, or at least aren't what I left you with. This is from me trying to figure out how to make the program do what I wanted it to do, and I just couldn't figure it out. But this is roughly the system I left you with last time. It's not as efficient as I would like. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this system to this. Now, again, it looks very intimidating. You don't have to worry about this stuff down here. The program is going to populate this information for us. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's get this. Come up to File, select New, and in your search bar, select Loan Amortization Schedule. Now, I cannot attest for older versions of Microsoft Excel. I do know that the newer versions of Microsoft Excel will also show this. I don't know. You will most likely need internet connection to get this. It should be your first option, Loan Amortization Schedule. Double click. It'll download, and then here it is. It's already set up for us. This is a template that Microsoft has made. And what you're going to do is to get it, because you'll notice it's in its own spreadsheet right now. It's in its own book, its own file system. And so we're going to come up here to this shrink cell, or whatever its proper name is, and now you can see hours in the background. Take the Sheet tab and just drag it down. You'll see that little black arrow that's saying where it's going to go. We're just going to drop it right at the end of the year. And now this cell is a part of our program. This template is very ingenious. It's very simple to use. And what you're going to want is you're going to want one of these tabs for every debt that you have, every loan that you're going to be paying back. Okay, so you'll notice as I'm clicking down here that I am not able to edit anything in these boxes. It's not responding to my clicking. What you need to do is you need to unprotect the sheet. So come up here to the top and click on Review, and then Unprotect Sheet. You can ignore these little triangles for now. So now what you can do is you can come up here and click in this box and change the title of this sheet to whatever loan you're trying to track. In this case, we're going to do mortgage. So now we can enter in data, but you don't want to enter in any data down here. I'm going to say that again. Do not enter data down here, at least not right now. I will tell you the exception to that rule. Come up here, and in these orange boxes, you can enter in your data manually. So let's say we've got a $250,000 loan for our mortgage. The annual interest rate we'll say is 4.5. The loan period in years, let's say that this is a 30-year mortgage. Number of payments per year, if we're paying it per month, then that would be 12 months in a year. One payment per month. If you're doing a loan for a car or for anything else where it's quarterly payments, so you're only paying once per quarter, then obviously your number of payments per year would be 4, because there are 4 quarters in a year. In this case, because we're doing monthly payments, 12. Start date of the loan is going to be the date that you took out the loan, or the date that you become responsible for this loan. Why don't we just choose Thanksgiving? Now you'll notice that all of these cells down here have become populated. You can take the scroll bar and scroll all the way down, and you see that all of this data is populated for you just off of this data that you've entered. In this lender name, you can go ahead and enter the name of the bank or whatever company that you took your mortgage out from. It's not essential to the actual data in the program. So this data is going to populate all the way down. Payment number over here represents, in this case, months. Because remember, number of payments per year, months. Again, if you have a quarterly payment, then 4 of these payments is going to represent a year. But in how they calculate all of this data in the sheet, in this case, given a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage with monthly payments, each of these payments represents a year, or excuse me, a month. And you can see that it's going to take you 360 months at 4.5% interest for a 30-year mortgage with the minimum payment, which again, right here, they're saying under scheduled payment is $1266.71. Scheduled payment tells you what the minimum payment is on your mortgage per month over 30 years, or the next 360 months. It tells you what your payment date is based on the start date of the loan. Balance, beginning balance, this is referring to your actual principal, your actual loan, not money that goes to interest. And that's where I messed up with the last debt tracker that I did, is I assumed that every dollar you put into paying off the loan went to principal, when in fact that's not true. And this sheet shows you how that is not true. So if you pay your $1266.71, you don't make any extra payments. The amount of money out of your $1266.71, only $329.21 is going to go to principal. The rest is going to go to interest, which means when you look at your ending balance, you'll notice that the total is only the original minus what went to principal. The $329.21 plus this figure will equal the $250,000. Everything in interest just goes to the bank for your right to borrow their money. You now have a schedule for every payment throughout the life of the loan. You now know that at the very last payment that you make, $1,200 out of your $1,261.98, and you'll notice that that's actually less than your original because that's all that was left of your loan to pay. That $1,257.25 of it is going to go to principal, and only $473 is going to go to the bank in interest. That's just the way it goes. If you scroll up, you'll see that the interest increases, or I guess the interest decreases as time goes on, and the principal increases as time goes on. So this is what this is showing. I am all for encouraging people to make extra payments. Again, the $1266.71 is the minimum payment. This is what you have to pay so that you don't default on your home loan and the bank comes and repossesses your house, or any number of terrible things that are likely to happen. But if you pay more than this, that money that you pay, more than the minimum, goes directly to principal. So watch this. So right now our principal is $329.21. If I enter 50, you'll notice that it shoots up $379.21. It goes up by that 50. The amount to interest didn't change at all. Watch the interest as I take that away, nothing changes. So more payments that you make above the minimum do go to principal, every penny of it. So paying extra payments not only speeds up your payment of the loan, but it actually saves you a lot of money. And now I'm going to show you the alterations that we're going to make so you can see how much money you can save by making extra payments. We're going to make some extra rows, some extra columns, so that you can really see the benefit of making extra payments. And you can do this with any loan that you have. We're going to enter two columns in over here, one called PMI and one called escrow. If you're doing a car loan with the sheet, then you won't be using either of those. So to start off, let's create two boxes in F4 and F5. Highlight those two boxes, and we're going to go ahead and outline them. Now you'll notice that the formatting on this specific sheet is they've got the dotted lines. You can change that if you want to take the time to do that. And because I'm a little OCD, I'm going to make sure my formatting matches that. So I've got my cells highlighted. I want to click this perforated line is the same style, and then I want to outline. And then now it's outlined just like that. Create two more boxes underneath it with a space in between, just like the top one. Title this top one Market Value. Title this one PMI Amount, and title this one Percent to PMI End. And I'll explain what these mean in a second. I'm going to center them, and then I'm going to actually unmerge those cells. So now there are different cells here. I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to format paint all three of those. You'll notice I'm going to have to redo that little bit of formatting there. I didn't think about that first. And then I'm going to click on that, double click, and format paint those three boxes. Again, that's just aesthetics to make it look nice. I realize that I say again a lot, even when I'm telling you things that I haven't told you before. And I apologize, that's a bad habit I'm going to have to get out of. Okay, with those three boxes there, now what we're going to do is we're going to add some more lines over here. We want 4 lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 lines, 10 through 13, H, I, and J, and I'm going to border those as well. You'll notice that there's a line right here. I don't want that line there. And so I'm going to come down to Erase Border and delete that line on those 3 cells. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these cells, format paint them to those cells. And again, I accidentally deleted that bottom line, so I'm going to have to put that back in. In this box, put interest saved. In this box, put months saved off loan. In the next box, put PMI saved. And then in the final box, put total savings. I'm going to separate these from each other a little bit. And so, highlighting the total interest, I'm going to underline it with a thick bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing under PMI saved. And what that's going to do, if you look on this one, is it's going to show you the division between these sections just a little bit more smoothly. And I'm going to I'm going to bold that because I like to have totals stand out. Now, if you look at this box right here, total interest, what this box is telling you is by the time you pay off your loan in 360 months from now at 4.5% interest, you will have spent $206,000 on interest. That's all money from your pocket that's going to the bank. That's in addition to your $250,000 to the actual loan. So that means at the end of the loan, 360 months from now, if you just make the minimum scheduled payments, you will have spent $206,078 plus your $250,000. You will actually have spent $456,016.78 on your mortgage. The house cost that's how much went to interest. So what we are now going to do, and I'm going to show you why I want this done, or why I did this, but I think it's better to show you the effect at the end rather than try to explain it to you before. So in this box, enter this data. Now don't reference the cell. Do not put equals that cell and press enter. It'll give you the same number, but that's not what we want, okay? Just manually enter the number. So I'm going to delete that and enter manually 206.016.78. Okay. With this number here, come up in front of it. Now we're going to turn it into a function. So put an equal sign in front of it, and then put minus, and then reference the total interest cell. Press enter. You'll notice it says 0 because we have, in the function 206.016 minus 78 minus that cell, which is the exact same figure, so the total is going to be 0. Now in months saved off loan, in this cell, we're going to enter another formula. Equals, open parentheses, we want J6 minus J7, close parentheses, and then we're going to divide it by 12. And again, the number you'll notice is 0, because we have J6, which is 360, minus J7, which is 360, which is going to be 0, and 0 divided by 0 is 0. And everyone knows that if you try to divide a real number, or a whole number, by 0, then the world ends and the apocalypse happens. You think I'm kidding? Now with this PMI saved box, I'm going to leave that for now, because now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce our new columns. So come over here and select 4 columns. Well, first off, highlight, it's going to be row 15 through 17, format paint it, and then I missed. I wanted to Control Z, never happened. K through N, and that formats that for us. In this column, PMI, title this column escrow, title column M actual payment, title column N confirm number, which is going to be short for confirmation number, and I lied, we're going to do one more box next to that. And this one is going to be date paid. Now PMI stands for private mortgage insurance. This depends on your bank as to how much that's going to be. It is required in most situations that I'm aware of, and basically it's the bank's way of protecting themselves if you default. Never mind the fact that if you default, they're going to come take your house anyway. So if you default, they're going to come take your house to help pay off the loan, but regardless of that, you still have to pay an insurance on their behalf of your money. So that's a very basic rendition of what PMI stands for, and I'm sure that there are some people who are watching this now saying, wow, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is the I'm not going to go into the details. That's the basic rendition. Escrow, as I understand it, is the amount of money that you give to the bank as kind of a monthly payment for when your property tax comes. You may not have $1,500 or whatever to pay on your property tax on that specific month when it's due, so you can set aside a monthly payment to pay for your property tax. I believe that's what it is. I'm sorry if I am a little misinformed. Actual payment is going to be your total payment plus your PMI plus your escrow. Well, I'll get to that. So let's just assume that your PMI from your bank is $200 a month. We're going to come up here and enter 200. Now I realize I skipped a step. Here in column N, add another box called loan to value, and then I'll come back to that. So with your private mortgage insurance being $200 a month, and that's set by your bank and your contract and whatever, you pay that until your loan to value amount is down to a certain percentage, and we're just going to say that it's 78%. This is something that's also set by your bank, I believe. What that means is that you need to pay your private mortgage insurance every month with your actual payment until you have paid 22% of your home's value, or the loan to the value of the home. So once you've paid 22% of your loan to the value of your home, then your PMI will end. You won't have to pay that anymore. So with this entered here at $200, now what we're going to do is we're going to populate that down here in the PMI column. But in order to do that, we need to have the market value. Now the market value is going to be the same value as your original loan, unless you've refinanced or had an appraiser, or you go underwater or anything like that, where the actual market value of your home appreciates or depreciates. In this case, we're going to leave it at the standard $250,000. If you get an appraiser and you refinance and and the market's improved, let's say, and you come to find out that your home is actually worth $270,000, then you would just come up there and change that manually, and that'll change the information down here. But for now, we'll leave it at $250,000. In cell 18, K18, we're just going to enter this number manually. Go ahead and just grab K, L, and M and tell all of them that it's accounting. So we're just going to enter this one manually, but then, okay, I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Go ahead and enter in your escrow. That is also kind of determined by your bank, or what their property tax is going to be. That can fluctuate with property taxes, things like that. We're going to assume that escrow per month is $250. Go ahead and click and drag that down. You can just highlight the bottom cell, grab the corner till you get that plus sign, and then drag, and just drag it all the way down. Now for actual payment, this is what in reality you're actually going to be paying to the bank. So this is going to be another function, equals total payment, which is F18, plus PMI plus escrow. Enter. So incorporating PMI and escrow, every month you're not actually paying $1,266.71. You're actually paying $1,716.71. So I know it can be a little misleading when you get into a mortgage and you look at these numbers and you say, oh, I only have to pay $1,266.71 per month. Well, that's not including the private mortgage insurance, and that's not including escrow. So now with this figure here, we're going to calculate the loan to value, and this is going to be another function. This is going to equal I-18, which is the ending balance, how much money we have left on the loan, the principal. We're going to divide that by the market value. Let's change this entire row to percentage, and you'll notice that it's saying it's 100%. In reality, we actually have less than 100%, but if you populate out the percentage, you can see it's 98.6, and just round it up. You can have that as populated out as you want to. I'm just going to leave it basically at 100%. So what that's saying is you still have basically 100% of the loan left to pay, or in reality 99.87% of the loan left to pay. With this data here, now we can calculate this PMI system. So in this cell, we're going to create a formula. It's going to be an if-then formula. So it's going to equal if, open parentheses. This is the logic test. It's saying, what am I looking for? So we want to say if N18 is greater than that. So that's the logic. That's the test that it's looking for. If this cell, N18, is greater than this cell, now we're saying what's going to happen if it's true. If it's true, value if true, we're just going to reference F8. And then put a comma. If it's false, just type the number 0. and then close parentheses. What that is saying, this is an if-then function, that's telling this cell that if N18, which is this one, is greater than this cell, then it references F8. Then populate it with 200, or whatever is in this cell. If it's false, then populate the cell with 0. So let me show you something. If I drag this down, you'll notice that these numbers represent nothing. It's because we need to lock the formula. What I mean by that is, if you click here, you'll notice that this other function that I dragged down is now all of a sudden referencing N19, and then F9 and F12. The boxes that we're including in this function have been moved down one space because we copied this formula down one space. And so we need to lock the formula in place. So come to this cell and you lock formula by the function 4 key, or the F4. It's usually sitting above your number 4 key on your main keyboard. So come up here and just put your cursor in the F11 and press function 4. And you'll notice it adds a $sign in front of the F and a $sign in front of the 11. And then do the same thing within the F8. Again, that happened, I got those two $signs by pressing the function 4, or the F4 key. Those $signs lock that cell. Oh, excuse me, why did it do that? Those $signs, oh, I pressed escape and not enter. Sorry. Press enter. Okay. So now if you look at it, that's what the cell looks like. Now what we can do, now if we populate it, this cell references N19, which is this one right here, which is what we want it to. But F11 and F8 are still referenced correctly. Now the reason these numbers are 0 is because we don't have any loan to value over here. And this formula is dependent upon this value. We have to do the same thing to this one. We need to lock this formula up here. But we only want to lock the last half. So just click on it, press F4, press enter. And now we can populate that down like that, and you'll notice that those populated right there as well. And you can see that the percentages are dropping. And we're going to drag this all the way down to the bottom of, come on, there we go, to the bottom of it, of the loan period. And you can see that it's representing 0%, which obviously means we've paid everything back. Now here is the 78% mark right there. So when we drag and populate this down, you'll notice that it's showing nothing right there. Scroll up and you'll see that it's stopped at 78%. So when you look at this actual payment here, and again you can populate this as well, and you don't need to lock any of these cells because we want these cells to move down with this one. So just click and drag down. And now it is showing our actual payments. So we have the $12.66 plus an additional $4.50 gives us the $17.16.71. That's how much we're actually going to be paying the bank at the beginning of each month. And then in these two boxes, I'd put these here because I wanted to be able to track when I made the payment. I wanted there to be some kind of record to show that I made this payment. If you're doing an online bill pay, then you just put in the confirmation number. So, 123 XYZ. And then you write the date that was paid. Like that. And I don't like the long date, so I'm coming into there, date, short date, and center. So now when I actually make the payment, I have a record. In case I need to prove that I made the payment, I have the confirmation number. If you make your payment with a check, you could always put your check number there, perhaps. Some way of confirming that whatever payment you made actually happened. So now we still have these two boxes up here and that one that we want to talk about. So now that we have this data over here, let's look at PMI saved. So similar to how we did this, where this is itself minus itself, we're going to do that with PMI. So go ahead and just click on K, and if you look down here, you'll see the sum. And this is automatically summing every figure in this box, and it's going to equal 26,000. And what that's telling us is by the time we get down to that 78% on the loan to value ratio, to where our private mortgage insurance stops, we will have spent $26,000 on that private mortgage insurance. And again, that's insurance that you're paying the bank so that if you default on their loan, they can get your house and your money. So what you're going to do is you're going to look down here, 26,000, and you're going to go, this is a function, 26,000, you enter that manually based off the number out of this column, subtract, and then put sum, open parentheses, K colon K. Now what that does is that's saying that take 26,000 and subtract from it the sum total value of everything in column K. Now if I were to add everything from column L too, then it would see K colon L. So what column are we starting in and what column are we ending in? So in this case, K and K. Just press enter. Again, that's 0 because we're taking a number and subtracting itself. Total savings is just a function of equals J10 plus J12, press enter. Again, it's 0. Now, here's where things get fun. Now I'm going to explain to you what we've done and why we've done it. The $1,266.71 is the minimum payment. As I explained earlier, you make any extra payments to that, those extra payments go directly to principal. Watch what happens if I make an extra $50 above my minimum scheduled payment every month. Now just so you know, this one didn't populate because I altered that one manually. If you look at this one, this is the function that the template puts in. Since I entered 50 in here manually, it overwrote that function. So in this case, I'm just going to enter that. As long as you don't edit anything in here yourself, you won't need to do that manually. So in this example, if I pay an extra $50 a month, every month, over the course of the entire 30-year loan, I will save $18,120.27 on interest. I will save $2,600 on private mortgage insurance, and I will finish my loan 2 months ahead of schedule. Months saved off loan, for a total savings of $20,720. And that's just $50 a month. That's why I set these. That's why we set these up, so that you can see what extra payments do, what the benefit is of making extra payments. Now life happens. You're not always going to be able to make an extra payment. I understand that. Even if you only wind up making $50 a month every other month. So you wouldn't put it up here because that populates the entire cell. But if you come up here and you make $50 this month, and then you come down here and you make $50 this month, $50 this month, $100 this month, just through that additional $250, you've saved $692.04. That's pretty good math. That's pretty basic math. You pay out $250, you get back $692. That's pretty darn good math. So this is your system for how to pay extra. If you can pay an extra $100 a month routinely, you're going to wind up saving $37,600, and your loan will be over 4 months earlier. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty intense stuff. That's it. That's the new debt tracking system. Now, just a little bit of formatting. If you want all this to be the same color as this, you can select any of these cells, and you come up here to conditional formatting and manage rules, and you can see that there are a couple rules here. They don't have these cells just highlighted this beige color on its own. So if you just select that cell and do Format Painter, let's highlight all the cells. And then we're going to change this one back to date. Let's have this column be general. We want this one to be a percentage. There you go. That's all there for you. Now if you scroll down here, you'll see that this is sticking out past the bottom of what they're saying is needed, because now you'll notice over here we only have 327 periods. We shaved off some time. We shaved off some payments because of having spent this extra 100. So it's not unreasonable for you to have this data down here left over, and it's not going to affect your tracking in any way. Go ahead and make your formula based on the minimum at the very start, and then if you have some left over down here at the bottom, it's not going to affect anything whatsoever. So that's it. That's your new debt tracking system. It's bigger. It's not as neat looking as far as, it's not as compact as I liked it, which is why I set it up that way on the other one. But it is definitely effective. It is definitely efficient. I know it's you don't know. I'm not getting to show you the mechanics of how it works exactly. I spent hours trying to figure out a simple way where I could have you look and see what is happening, and you could build the spreadsheet and learn the skills. But I just couldn't do it without it becoming a project, something that I don't think you need to know. You can look at this and you can reverse engineer this. If you really want to know how this system works so you can tweak it yourself, it's reverse engineering. You can figure it out. Same thing with these cells. I didn't really take the chance to explain these cells to you. If this is what your total interest was before you made any additional payments, and then you made additional payments, then it shows you the original total minus what is actually here represented in the total interest bar, and you get the difference representing how much interest you saved. Same thing, same formula there, same concept there, same concept there. I hope this makes more sense to you. It makes more sense to me because it's actually done properly. I feel pretty foolish that I didn't even think to include interest rate in my previous budget videos. Hopefully this redeems me. I guess I kind of cheated in that I didn't build this spreadsheet, but we have altered it, so maybe that counts. One thing I did is I changed the font color on that so that it stands out. This is what you're actually paying. Anyway, I hope this has been beneficial. That's all we're going to cover for this video. It's a pretty long video. Thanks for sticking with me. So in the next video, we're going to edit the year-end summary page, and then if we have time, I'm going to show you how to edit your expense tracker so that you don't have to manually enter what category the purchases that you made goes under. It'll enter that for you. All you have to do is select the right choice at a drop-down menu. It's very convenient. It's a little bit of formula, but it will be worth it in the end. See you there. We're going to be excuse me.